Honestly, the trailers for Wonder Woman, along with the rest of the marketing campaign, didn't really give me any incentive to want to actually go and see this movie. I think it was a mixture of the letdowns DC has brought out, but also a little bit of comic book movie fatigue, if I'm being honest. But even though I wasn't longing to see this movie, I knew that I was going to see it, and I wanted to. So in my delight, whenever I saw that the movie was getting positive ratings, that people were really happy about this movie, it gave me a little bit of hope. And that hope was definitely worth holding on to, because while this movie does have its flaws, it's a reform to a battered universe that's only just lifted off. Even though I wasn't a big fan of the trailers, one of the big things that I took away from the trailers were how they were portraying the Amazonians and the Amazon. And while I wasn't too familiar with the comic books behind Wonder Woman, I knew that that was an essential part of the lore. I knew it would be an interesting part to delve into, and I was right. It was really cool to see this part in the world that's sort of caved away. It's very vibrant, it's very happy, you know, it's got a great tone to it. There's fighters on the island. These Amazons are meant to protect Earth, but they're caved away. They're protected by Zeus. Speaking of Zeus, I love the way they sort of melded in the gods and made all these different interesting connections, I guess, with these mythical gods and the actual DC universe itself. You had to see Diana sort of becoming a warrior throughout this movie, and especially in the scenes where she's in the Amazon. I mean, you could see those different attributes whenever she was very young sort of shine through, and you could see them build and build upon as she was sort of growing up. And through this training and through this building, you get to know her mother and her mother's sister, her aunt, I guess. It's interesting to see those relationships and how you actually care about the characters, even with such a little backstory built onto them. Just knowing that they're the mother, they're the aunt, they care, you know, the acting that these people shine through is it makes the performances much more powerful than they could have been. But even though I said that the marketing stuff just didn't really interest me that much, when I saw a TV spot that came out a couple weeks ago, maybe no, longer than that, but I saw it a couple weeks ago, and it showed Wonder Woman with her bracelets, and she's like, and you know, it's like mid-fight, she's fighting, she's grown up, she's in the Amazon, she's sort of trying to prove herself to her mother and her aunt, and whenever that happens, that kind of got me amped. And then whenever I saw that scene with more context, I actually almost got nerd tears. That was really cool. And it was like, you got to see her grow up, and then her doing this flip, and then taking out a bunch of people in training. And it was cool. It was really cool. Like, I didn't know a lot about the character, and it was the first time within this sort of era that I was seeing Diane Prince as Gal Gadot. The direction, the charisma, it was really well done. Patty Jenkins, she did a good job. And also the introduction to humans onto the island. I thought that was such a interesting introduction, because her mother knew that if Diane used her powers, Ares would find her. Whenever the human characters were introduced, whenever Steve Trevor came in, whenever the German ships came in, there was such a smooth tonal shift that happened. I mean, we were confronted with this very happy environment, but there was also this inner conflict between the mother and daughter, because she wanted to leave. It sort of reminds me of Moana, the way the princess, she wants to leave. She wants to go, and she wants to be a warrior. And her mother doesn't want her to be. And it's not for any evil reason, it's just because she cares. And she doesn't want to see her daughter get hurt. And when you see this conflict happening, it's so brutal, to me at least. I mean, it wasn't brutal as in it wasn't graphic, but the way you saw these Germans come down in their ships with their guns, and then all the Amazonians with like bow and arrows and swords and on horses, and then seeing a lot of them get taken out, it was really like, it was like, oh no, this is their family, this is like, they've built this home was theirs, and then the Germans came and invaded them and took them, well, tried to take them out. But then, speaking more to Diane herself, I think Gal Gadot gave a really great performance as this character. I definitely was one of the people, whenever she was cast, that I was like, no, this is bad, this is a bad idea, she can't act, this is bad. I've only seen her in Fast and Furious. This isn't good. And then you see her in the movie. You see her first in Batman v Superman. Probably the best part of that movie. Maybe, I mean, Batman was the best part of that movie. She was really good in that. She had some great action sequences, but you didn't really get to see her acting chops that much. In this, she has to. And she did a great job. She gave this very Amazonian performance, I guess. Like, she is from the rainforest. Like, she is of somewhere else. She's not human. She managed to pack all the traits that the Amazonians are meant to be known for in her, and it worked really well to make it a much more believable performance, because you felt that she was unearthly, that in this universe she's essentially a god. And then when you transition from that to her actually fighting on the German line when she's in no man's land and just kicking ass and really being empowering and everything, it's so cool. Not even in her full potential. I mean, she she just keeps ramping up throughout the movie, and you're seeing her evolve and like learn what she can and cannot do. Climbing, jumping, fighting, using her braces to block bullets, stuff like that. It was so cool to sort of be in an almost bird's eye view, watching Diane figure out how the world worked. Not just her own powers, but also how Earth worked, because she was only used to the way Amazons work. Until Steve Trevor, she had never seen a man before. She had only read about reproductive stuff. It's like, that's so interesting, because you had that little side part along with her having to help save the world from the end. And speaking of Steve Trevor, I loved that connection with Diane and Steve. They were such a great couple to sort of meld together. Their chemistry, really, really good. Whenever you got that sort of look between the two characters, you knew there was something there. And it was also really heartbreaking. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was. It reminded me a lot of Captain America, the first Avenger. And that leads me to one of my issues with this movie. And it comes, I hate to say it, because I really did like this movie, but it comes down to its originality. I felt like it was really lacking in that. Like, there wasn't that much originality coming out of this movie. Like, it felt, and I know I'll be getting the hypocritical sort of side whenever I say this, but it felt so much like the first Avenger to me. With the plane, and with her, fighting on the line, how she's introduced to it, the almost Boy Scout sort of role that they played. I know it's hypocritical for me to say this, because whenever I reviewed The Force Awakens, I was defending the fact that they did this sort of New Hope thing with Starkiller Base, and I defended it. I said that this was a decision that was vital, because they needed to really launch this series back. There were a ton of things that were original about that movie compared to New Hope. With this movie, I do feel like there's a little bit of a difference, and part of it is because I really do think that they could have went a little bit further. And instead of, like, bombs on a ship, it's so much like the first Avenger. I just kind of wanted a little bit of a difference there in the way that played out. Along with the way the villain played out, it sort of reminded me of the first Avenger as well. Sort of the peeling back of the mask. But whenever I speak of that with the villain, like the first Avenger, the villain in this movie is great, and it's unexpected. Like, we get to see a character, which I'm not going to spoil. I mean, the movie's been out for a bit, but that was kind of surprising. I'm going to be honest, a little bit surprising. I saw something there, but I definitely was not convinced that a character was going to be another character, and that they could possibly beat the villain. And the way that fight played out, and the emotion that Gal Gadot put in, and Steve Trevor put in, and this little bandit that they had, it made for a really entertaining third act, along with a very immersive third act, because I felt like it was in World War I. However, it was just a little too dark. This is my problem with DC, and it will continue to be my problem. It's going to continue unless they decide to brighten their colors up. I'm going to continue complaining about it. A lot of stuff I can't actually see on the screen because it's so dark. And I know why they do it. I mean, it's because, it hides visual effects. It makes visual effects look better whenever you're in a darker environment. I mean, I watched some of the visual effects when they were doing Batman v Superman, and it was brighter. And then they started adding more layers of visual effects to make the scene look more realistic, and then it got so dark. I hope that they can sort of slightly lighten it up and lighten it up and lighten it up until we can get to a point where I can actually see everything that's on screen instead of seeing this sort of vignette around every single shot, and it's so frustrating because I want to see everything. I want to see this beautiful, vibrant world that they can show, but also this grittiness that they can show. I mean, thankfully, the first act with the Amazon was bright, like really bright, and they worked out well. It's probably the brightest parts of any DC movie since like Man of Steel. It definitely helps in some cases, like whenever you're in no man's land, that darkness definitely helped, but there are scenes that they could have brightened up a little bit, like whenever you're on that runway at the end of the movie, they could have brightened some stuff up so I could see what was going on, get more of a feel for the environment that we're in, and not just feel like an encased sort of CGI fest, like put in a soundstage, and more of Germany in the early 1900s. And that's another thing, I really like the action in this movie. I thought they did a great job at giving Diane this set of moves that didn't feel unfamiliar, that they felt like she could actually use. You would see the character use a lot of the same moves, and you would see her use a lot of different attacks of sorts that she had learned through, being with her aunt and fighting. And I appreciate when a filmmaker doesn't just throw out a lot of stuff, showing that this character does have a lot more to learn, but from what she does know, she definitely does a great job at it. I mean, the kicks, the punches, she shows raw power in this. I mean, she breaks a gun with her back, smacking people through walls. She breaks the top of a church to take out a sniper. Then again, the character wasn't perfect. She definitely had her flaws, and I'm glad that they showed those flaws. Superman was one of those characters who was almost perfect. And you need those imperfections to sort of make the character more relatable and more interesting. And with this, you had Diane, who was very much guided in her own route. She didn't really listen to a lot of what other people would say, even if it was good advice, and it kind of got her in bad situations. And I think from these, she'll definitely learn for future movies, and I love that. I love seeing a character grow and learn, and even, gather different sort of emotions. I mean, one of which is love. I mean, she got to feel an emotion for a man, and that specific emotion she'd probably never felt before, unless she was also into women. I don't know. It's definitely a very large step forward from what we saw last year. I feel like they're going forward. I feel like it's working out. I feel like they're actually going somewhere with this universe. I kind of wanted a post-credit scene, to be honest. I want to see more of what they're planning. We didn't get that, but I'm okay with it. This was its own movie. This is a standalone. It's a time capsule. It's telling a story from a time past. And the way they weaved in the present, and with sort of Batman v Superman, I really liked how those connections binded. So yeah, I would say that Wonder Woman was a tropical, empowering, action-packed, emotional time capsule. So yeah, if you've seen Wonder Woman, tell me what you thought of it in the comment section below. Tell me what you thought of the video in the comment section below. Hit the like button, tells me you enjoyed it, and subscribe because it makes me feel good and makes me want to do more videos. So yeah, I'll see you later, movie fans.